With so much new already surrounding Kentucky basketball, UK has partnered with a cutting-edge organization. More than 200 individual panels pieced together in this way with player safety in mind. You see the filling between each panel. That's silicone designed to put a little bit of cushion in between the glass. Head coaches typically begin their press conferences with an opening statement, but today UK women's basketball head coach Kenny Brooks started with one of these.
You can't expect any team to do that every game. It's the most three-pointers made by a Kentucky team since 1995, but it does tell you something about how this team wants to play, at least while its 3 7-footers are all unavailable.
As the Wildcats' new head coach joined the fans in the rafters all the way up behind me in section 224. If you want it to look like old-fashioned hardwood, it can do that, but it won't act like it. It won't sound exactly like it. No dead spots ever on this court. And now the season he helped win that trophy for this program, well, it was the first year of our LEX 18 True Blue fan buttons. Here's what the very first edition looked like. Here's what this year's edition looked like. A lot has changed.
We'll let you get back in line and we'll see who else we can find here in line tonight. Like we said, plenty of Kentucky fans already out here waiting for their turn. We can talk about the guards and the young guys until we're blue in the face, but the only player that anybody wearing blue seems to want to talk about here today is Hunter Dickinson. You talk about adversity at the beginning. I mean, you get down 8-0. They hit 4 3-pointers in the first 5 minutes. How much does that test you guys?
John Wall, that 2010 squad that reinvigorated an excited Big Blue Nation, the run to the Final Four in 2011. Players like Maggie Davis and MKG who ultimately cut down the nets. What did come out of these doors earlier this afternoon? Well, it was boxes and boxes, 15 years, in fact, worth of boxes and belongings being carried out.
When we're talking about Wildcats and Tar Heels, you can't only focus on the front court, even when it also features Armando Bacot for North Carolina, because in this rivalry, historically speaking, the guards have always shown up. Like we said, this is a guards rivalry, and Rob Dillingham showcased that tonight. He led the way for Kentucky, finished with 17 points, and for the Hickory, North Carolina native, yes, it was a little personal.
My dad always wanted me to go to Carolina.
Do it in the Kentucky Derby, a state that you're from. What does that mean to you?
Well, it's a lot of hard work over the years.
We always say basketball is a game of runs, and this team withstood every single run Tennessee tried to go on in this one. What does that say about this group?
You're used to seeing the word Kentucky on this baseline, but normally it's done in paint. Right now you're seeing it in LED lighting, and Kentucky is the first collegiate program to see its name done in lighting like that on this floor.
You get down 8-0, they hit 4 3-pointers in the first 5 minutes. How much does that test you guys? Well, my favorite part about that shot, how his teammates reacted. You saw Robert Dillingham jumping up and down on the sidelines. You saw Trey Mitchell fist pumping despite dealing with cramps in that moment. We've talked a whole lot about team chemistry with this group, and these Wildcats certainly have it, despite having to mix Bradshaw back into the fold after he missed the first 7 games with that foot injury. He has been out here already warming up tonight.
What have you seen by your offense, one that's already fired off 10 shots this evening?
Yeah,
29 lead changes and 15 ties. What does it feel like to play in a game like that?
2 of the all-time greats in Kentucky volleyball history, their names still scattered throughout this program's record books.
It's your best game on paper as a Wildcat, first time over 100 yards, 7 catches for 113 tonight against Tennessee.
Yep.
Ultimately did not result in a win, though. How are you feeling after this one?
Finally played like we're family, and I feel like it showed tonight and that we all played for each other.
What made that difference? What made it finally feel like that for you?
I just
24 assists from this team tonight, 6 of them from you, your 4th game in single-digit turnovers this season. You guys play so fast. How are you able to maintain that level of an assist-to-turnover ratio?
I could care less about numbers. You know, I'm going to go out there and do what I can for our team to help us win.
You say you could care less about numbers, but 90 points has to feel pretty good, especially in a game that never really had an offensive rhythm like this one. What does it say about this group to still score 90 when it did feel a little bit like a slugfest at times here tonight?
Yeah, I mean, there were times in the games where we were just like, yo, we can't hit a shot.
Everyone's going to remember 7 3-pointers, right? But you look across that box score, 7 assists, 2 blocks, 3 steals. What part of Reed's game is your favorite to watch?
Good question.
None of that happens without their setter. We talked about it at the beginning of the match, and now we're joined by Miss Setter herself, Emma Grome. Emma, congratulations on the win. What was working so well for you and your team tonight?
If you want it to look like old-fashioned hardwood, it can do that, but it won't act like it. It won't sound exactly like it. No dead spots ever on this court.
Preview of the Wildcat who had a breakout performance last Friday. Hey, Maggie.
Hey, Keith, you're right, and I love to call it a breakout performance, but I don't even know if that's a strong enough word. How about Reed Shepherd pacing these Wildcats with a season-high 25 points against Stonehill on Friday night. He hit 9 of 10 of his shots from the field. Even more impressive, 7 of 8 from deep. Welcome into downtown Lexington, where we are technically making history tonight, if you want to call it that. It's the very first SEC ACC Challenge. Good evening, everybody, and welcome into a brand new look, but still historic Memorial Coliseum. This is BBN Tonight, and it's a very special day in the Big Blue Nation. And a lot of what we watched more than a handful of times, the shot clock started at 10, maybe 15 seconds. Is that drill specific today for Pro Day, or is that indicative of the big picture, how this team is going to play? Let's bring Jack Goose-Gibbons into this conversation now. Jack, we are cheating a little bit.
I'm gonna get down on.
Don't take it personally. Let's get to some big volleyball news now, because the non-conference schedule is set. We have it right here. We get to unveil it.
It'll be 70% blue in there.
Yes.
I'm with you on that.
The fans travel. The Governor's Cup does
Yes.
not. Still a very good defense.
Right, yes.
But when you have a bad game, you have to own up to it, and it's not always just raising your hand and saying, my bad. You have to be better the next week. And along those lines, penalties really had not been a reoccurring problem all season, but they certainly were.
A way to have enough time to get open.
Yeah, Tom, they're up against time, and so are we. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll talk again next week. Not only that, he also showed a certain reverence for that position group as a whole. Benny Snell, Chris Rodriguez, Ray Davis, a trio of all-timers. Pre-game, we talked so much about time of possession in this matchup. Coming off a week where Vanderbilt dominated time of possession against Alabama, that's how they pulled off that win. Did it again to Kentucky, and Stoops always says you never know which play is going to make the difference. We saw that come to fruition on Saturday.
This is way past my bedtime, even on a normal night.
Way past all of our bedtime. Good evening and welcome into BBN Tonight. Hopefully the holiday weekend allowed you and Brock Vandegrift, everybody, a little extra time to catch up on some sleep. After a wild opening weekend in Lexington, we are breaking it all down with you tonight. I'm Maggie Davis. Mark Stoops has said it once. He has said it a million times, German. He does not want to see the play clock get down to 1, 2, 3 seconds again this season like it often did last season. How do you expect Stoops and honestly Bush Hamden to find the tempo that works best for this team with all that personnel you just talked about? We are joined now by the man who was an answer to a trivia question on the Jumbotron at Kroger Field on Saturday. Who is the voice of the Wildcats? Obviously, it is Tom Leach. One thing the Cats can't control is Mother Nature, and for more on the weather this weekend at Kentucky Proud Park, we bring in our friend, Chief Meteorologist Bill Meck. Bill, well, he pitched the Cats to a win against Florida this time last year on senior night, and now Darren Williams is on this side of things. He's here now to help us preview that same matchup, Cats versus Gators. Darren, how are you?
I'm pumped up, guys.
It's a big part of your recruiting pitch these past couple of years especially has been keeping the in-state guys. In-state did that with 6 guys this year, including the Smith twins. Their dad did an interview recently where he said you were the one who helped show them what being a hometown hero could look like. I asked them what that looked like to them today. Listen to this. And then there's the junior, Emilie Pitre, who grew up in, well, I'll just let him tell you. Did you catch that? It's a suburb of Montreal, Quebec. During our interview, Pitre told me there's not much of a baseball culture there. It is America's pastime after all. And yet baseball is the sport he was drawn to from a young age. When I asked him why, his eyes lit up, flashed a big smile, and he said, because it's the hardest. I'm competitive and I love a challenge. And what bigger challenge is there than the path Pitre has taken from Quebec to Lexington, all for a dream he didn't even know he had.
This is Friday Night Heights. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maggie Davis alongside former UK head coach Leah Little. And Leah, I don't know if it's something in the air or what, but we both think we are on the cusp of a potentially record-breaking night tonight. And she has another perfect 10 tonight. Raina Worley has a 10 on the uneven bars for her stick in Rupp Arena. Bumped over by Murphy. Free ball for the Cats. Rome to Teeler. Count it.
King to the left wing. Inside to Petty. Post up. It's another three-point opportunity for Asia Petty.
There are few things better in sports sports than a good comeback, right? And Isabella had her season low last week on the beam. Great to see her rebound tonight.
Well, I'll tell you what. Cats with another look at it. Brown out of the net. Kentucky finds the back.
The #1 gymnast in the country in this event. That's what you're seeing right now.
Aggies claim set 3, and hey, we're going to a 4th. More volleyball for us. Maggie Davis alongside Leah Edmond. And Leah, what was working for the Aggies in that set specifically?
I mean, it started with Texas.
Petty on Chambers, goes up, not quite, gets her own rebound. She'll try again, same shot, different result. Owen 16 points. Here's Petty down low, floater, different move by the senior than what we've seen so far today. Your team up with a 1-0 lead at the break. First goal came early in this one. What have you seen by your offense, one that's already fired off 10 shots this evening?
Yeah, well, we really focused all week on being a little bit more dangerous.
As the Cats leader with 14 kills, followed by DeLay with 13, Teeler with 11, but none of that happens without their setter. We talked about it at the beginning of the match, and now we're joined by Miss Setter herself, Emma Grome. Emma, congratulations on the win. What was working well for you and your team tonight?
Outside the Cockrell.
What a dig. And it's a kill by Elise McGee. Who else to finish it here in the first round of the NCAA tournament? A sweep. Check. Here comes Rutherford. Down for the Cats.
And how about Logan Lednicki, the sophomore, up to double-figure kills on the evening with 10. Followed closely behind by not one, but 2 of her teammates, Moneke and Muth, with 9 kills apiece. That's the momentum that they're looking to bring into set 4. They certainly had it to end set 3 with that 26-24 win. Anytime you go to extra points, it's a little more juice involved.
Free ball opportunity for Baylor. Back set and a kill. What a dig by DeLay. Aaron Lamb into the block. Bevan is there. DeLay again, over. Here goes Morgan. Getzinger on the slide. What a dig. Lower. Miss swing. Tapped over. What a rally. Aaron Lamb will end it for the Wildcats. Absolutely, but she will have some stiff competition tonight because on the other side of the net, it's the country's leading blocker. That's Afena Kasapala. The road to Tampa goes through Lexington, Kentucky, where we are inside historic Rupp Arena to see Baylor face off against the 7th seed James Madison in the first round of the NCAA tournament. As the Norse look to extend a 3-0 scoring run here in the third. To Thigpen again, meets the block. She'll hit it over herself, but NKU's ready. Banks from the 10-foot line, looking for that back corner, but it goes long. And that brings us to match point Wildcats. 24-13 in set 3. Big Blue Nation on its feet. More than 3,500 fans in attendance on opening night in Memorial Coliseum. All here, hoping to see a Cats win. Lane Jenkins looks to get it done. Bumped over, miscommunication by the Cats. Long bump out to Thigpen. The Norse can't get it back over the net. And it's a win for the Wildcats.
Welcome into the Wendell and Vicki Bell Soccer Complex. It's a gloomy night in Lexington so far, but nothing brightens your day quite like a little SEC soccer. Luckily, that's exactly what we have in store for you tonight as the Kentucky Wildcats get set to host Georgia, the reigning SEC champions. And hey, no pun intended there, but we do have a little bit of an earlier start time tonight because of weather moving into the area. First kick now set for 5 o'clock Eastern time. It's okay to see the Cats and the Dogs play. We don't need it raining Cats and Dogs. Alongside the former Kentucky Wildcat, Maddie Lockridge, I'm Maggie Davis. Thanks for joining us here in Lexington. It's a cloudy evening, 71 degrees, less than a minute until kick. Here's what we expect from the Georgia Bulldogs. Hannah White starting in place of her stepsister, Tori Penn. Here's a look at Kentucky. One major change we want to focus on for now. Mia Bookhart back in the starting lineup for Kentucky, her second start of the season. Looking to keep their season going. Mars Josephson out of the net. Dangerous position for Kentucky to be in. The Wildcats just trying to clear the ball as Josephson gets back on her feet and back between the pipes.
That was absolutely wild.
That could have been disastrous for Kentucky. Georgia so close to having wide open net in front of them. Hannah White sees the open field. Two Cats catch her. She still has a look at it, and she finds the back of the net. That's a goal for the Georgia Bulldogs. The equalizer in Lexington. We're all tied up. 1-1, 79 minutes in. Pay close attention to the surface this team is playing on. I did check this earlier today with all of the expected rain in the area. It is real grass, it is not turf, so it could be affected by the rain. We've certainly had a lot of it here in Lexington this week, couple of muddy spots. That'll do it in Lexington. It's a draw between the Wildcats and the Bulldogs. Kentucky will have to wait a little bit longer to get its first SEC win of the season. Coming up next for both teams, they'll stay in league action. UK, a road trip to Norman to play the new SEC foe, Oklahoma. That's coming up Sunday at 2 o'clock back on the SEC Network. Plus, Georgia gets to return to the Turner Soccer Complex where they will host Alabama Sunday at 3 o'clock.
Every little bit counts, right? Because we are moving closer and closer to the postseason. And this fun little number called the National Qualifying Score, well, it comes into play starting next week. Here's how that works. It's going to take every team's top 6 scores. 3 of those have to be away meets, right? Prioritizing being able to perform on the road. You drop their highest score. That doesn't seem fair. You lose the highest one, the best one, and then you average the remaining 5. That's how you get the NQS. The NQS is how teams get ranked for the postseason. The top 16 teams, according to that NQS score, well, they get a seed in each regional. 9 teams get to compete at each regional site. 4 regional sites every single year. This year, we're heading to Arkansas, Michigan, California, and Florida. And then the fun really gets going from there, right? You have round 1, round 2, regional finals all the way until we get to nationals where 8 teams will compete for a national championship. Every team in the country wants to be in that conversation, right? And Kentucky is doing its part here this season, up to 5th in the country right now, and trying to keep that momentum rolling forward as we look towards the NQS scores, which again, first one will come this coming week. Coming up next, we're going to show you Sydney Benson on the vault and Raina Worley is taking the floor for uneven bars. Good evening from Lexington, Kentucky, where we welcome you into a venue that has been totally renovated, revamped, reimagined since the last time we were all inside these 4 walls more than a year ago. But even with all of the changes and the updates that come with an $80+ million remodel, walking into this venue, into historic Memorial Coliseum, well, it still feels historic. Tonight, it's the host of the Bluegrass Battle, the University of Kentucky Wildcats hosting the Norse of Northern Kentucky. It's a round-robin style weekend on this beautiful new court. You see some of the new blue and white lights in action as well as the Cats get ready to get introduced. We just met the starting lineup for the Norse, and the 7-time SEC champions are coming up next. Game 1, well, we already took care of that, and in that game, Western Kentucky won the opening round 3-1 over Moorhead. So now all of our attention can turn to the home team, University of Kentucky, hosting the visitors from the northern part of the state. The Norse coming down to play the Cats for the first time since 1980. This is the first meeting between these two programs in the rally scoring era. And hey, they are trying to make it worth your while, right? Because in addition to this Bluegrass Battle, we're celebrating the beginning of college volleyball season. Of course, we're celebrating the opening of this historic Memorial Coliseum. You are witnessing the very first game that will be played by the home team on their new home court. And of course, the Norse happy to be taking part in that as well. We've got a good crowd here in Lexington. Big Blue Nation certainly coming out in droves to see this team take the court for the very first time. The band, the cheerleaders, everybody getting ready to welcome these Cats onto their new court. This is a program that hasn't really had a home court in more than a season. The Wildcats took over Rupp Arena last year, which of course is a historic venue in its own right, but it's not quite home. They didn't have their own locker room. They didn't have their own practice court. now they can come out and know this is their home. So much work went into this venue. Like I said, more than $82 million. It's the largest investment in women's sports in the University of Kentucky Athletics history. It's a big night, and of course, you got all the stars from UK Athletics out here to cheer them on. Athletics Director Mitch Barnhart is here, several coaches, representatives from several teams. The student section is full. Everybody excited to open this new venue, which, like I said, we have not been inside for more than a year. We all have to get our rhythm back, right? And so as we get going, hang with us as we work through some potential technical difficulties. We're working some new stuff out. It's like I said, everything here is new. From this court to the lights, the Jumbotron, the banners, even the bathrooms have been renovated. Everything here looking brand new for these women's programs. Of course, Kentucky Volleyball hosting the action this weekend, but eventually this will also be home to the Kentucky women's basketball team, the stunt program, and the University of Kentucky's gymnastics program. So a lot of very talented women will be hitting this court over the course of this year and the decades to come. Tonight it's all about the Wildcats and the Norse as we get set. Talk a little bit about who you'll see on each side of the net as well as who you'll see on each bench. For the Wildcats, it's head coach Craig Skinner, entering his 20th season at the helm. One of the longest tenured coaches in the SEC, one of the longest tenured coaches at UK right now. Liz Hart on the other side of the net can say the same thing. 15 seasons now at her alma mater, helping lead the Norse, and man, she has led them through a series of changes. They moved from Division II up to Division I back in 2012, and right away started finding success. She guided them to that D1 status, and then right away earned the best record a reclassifying school has ever had in NCAA history. They went 25-7 that season, and they are looking to continue building upon that success. This is the Norse's first game of the season, 0-0 next to them right now on their schedule. The Wildcats 0-1 as they took on the #2 team in the country earlier this week. Traveled down the road to Louisville for the ABCA First Serve Showcase. Opened the college volleyball season by playing #2 Nebraska. Tonight, it's an in-the-state matchup for the Wildcats and the Norse. Northern Kentucky will serve first, and we are just seconds away from the first serve inside Memorial Coliseum. It's Tori Houston, the starting setter,